Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're getting started here. We are going live on several different channels. Appreciate you being here. Loading up my presentation. We're doing a webinar right now. We're doing several webinars. Welcome, welcome. We are doing several webinars within the next week. This is live. If you want me, I can prove the date. It is, what is it? March 28th. Tomorrow, super excited. It's an incredible day because our book, Start Thinking Rich, is out in stores. Many of you have probably already gotten it, but I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, not all 21 harsh lessons to go from broke to financial freedom, but 3 very, very important lessons. So wherever you're watching from, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, where else am I streaming? And of course, in the live webinar here, let me know in the chat where you're from. And if you're watching on one of these other channels, feel free to join us over here. I got emails that a lot of people couldn't catch it live, so they're going to get a recording of this. So we won't talk badly about them for not being here. But welcome, Michael from Australia. Good to have you here, brother. And feel free to ask any questions along the way. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on the chat here as we're streaming also on the various platforms. But let's get into it. You guys came here. I want to give you some value immediately. So by the way, we're just going to be giving away a bunch of free stuff here. And why would we do something like that? Well, the bottom line is we are trying to get Start Thinking Rich in as many hearts and minds and hands as possible. It's available at bookstores everywhere. Hey, Sharon from Phoenix, welcome. So if you stick around to this webinar, at the end, we have your email since you signed up, and Adrian's going to send you a free 1-hour rich skill set versus wealth skill set workshop that he recorded previously. It's fabulous stuff. We talk about what is a rich mindset versus what is a wealth mindset in Start Thinking Rich. But he dives real deep into that. So just by being here, sticking around to the end, you're going to get that freebie. And again, if you're watching from YouTube, if you're watching from Facebook, if you're watching from, well, actually, those are the 2 places I'm streaming. Hop on the webinar. I got a link in the comments there. So let's get right into it. So this webinar tonight is for you if you struggle with saving money, if you struggle with making money, if you struggle with investing money, you're not sure how to invest, and if you're not financially free yet. And I think this is most people. This was me for most of my life. And there's no shame in this. There's no shame in this because we're not taught how to do any of these things. So I grew up lower income. I didn't know how rich people saved. I didn't know how they made money, frankly, and I certainly didn't know how they invested. So this is a skill set and a knowledge base. It takes time to learn. So don't be hard on yourself if you don't have a handle on it. So there are 21 harsh lessons to go from broke to financial freedom. We talk about them, as I mentioned in our book. By the way, we've done, I think, 50 podcasts in the last month. I'm pretty tired, actually. We've gone to New York twice. We were in Atlanta last week. I'm going to Austin in a few days. Then we're going to do an event here in Colorado. We're fired up about it. We want to teach as many people as we can about these harsh lessons. And we don't have time to get into all of them. But like I said, we're going over 3 of the big ones with you tonight. And I love that it's a small group on the webinar. Feel free to ask any questions as we go. I'm happy to pause. So if you don't know much about Adrian Brambilla, he's a fabulous dude. He's a friend of mine. He used to be a dancer for T-Pain. So he's a professional dancer when he was in school in Iowa. Now he lived in a van for a while. I'm not sure if you caught him on social media there. He's most famous for making $1.7 million in 1 year living in a van. Adrian is the bomb. He's an expert in how to make money in the current environment. I'm literally trying to decide whether I should send my kids to college or send them to Adrian's house for the summer to intern. But I know for a fact this guy made $1 million in a day. He actually saw T-Pain make millions in one day, and it inspired him around this idea. I got to find a way to make $1 million in a day. So he has tons of content, and he talks about it in our book, How to Make More Money, how to do side hustles. He's the side hustle king. He's the internet side hustle king, I would say. So how do you make money online in today's environment? And I will say this, that my son, who's 11, made, we haven't got the check yet, but he's anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000 last month, my 11-year-old son, by doing one of the side hustles we talk about in Start Thinking Rich. And I'll just tell you what it is, Amazon review videos. Amazon review videos. That's what my son did. He made 70 of them last month. Anyway, he's fired up. He wanted to make some money. So it's pretty impressive. These are things that Adrian brings to the table, which is one of the reasons why I love that we're collaborating together on this project. If you don't know me, I am a clinical psychologist. That's what I got my doctorate in. And I have specialized in the psychology of money. Now, what does that mean? I've studied the rich. I've done many studies at this point, looking at people's beliefs around money. How does it predict their income? How does it predict their net worth? I'm fascinated with it because I grew up not having much money. And so I really wanted to understand how people go from broke to rich. And so this was a personal journey. I wanted to learn what I could learn to teach myself. I wanted to learn whatever I could learn to teach my kids and my family, and ultimately to bring it to as many people as possible. So I'm super passionate about that. This is one of my favorite things to do. There's no money in writing books. There's no money in writing books. It is a labor of love. This is the manual I wish I had when I was a kid. And again, I'm going to be sharing with you some of those secrets right now. So now, I do want to say from the start, I'm going to be talking a lot of smack about poor people. Poor people are this. Poor people are that. All right, now, I just want to make it very clear. When I say poor, I mean mindset. I mean a poor mindset. It's very different than being broke. Being broke means you have no money. Now, that's what you think poor is. I don't think that way at all. I know a lot of broke people who will be multimillionaires. You might be a broke person. And I truly, truly believe that if you have a rich mindset, you can become wealthy. So when we talk about poor in Start Thinking Rich, poor people this, poor people that, we're talking about a mindset. We're talking about a mindset. I actually know people who make a lot of money, make 6 figures a year. They have a poor mindset. So I'm going to refer to them as poor, because really that poor mindset leads you to be broke forever. So we want you to have a rich mindset. And I'm going to be talking about 3 of those rich mindsets here. And I want you to adopt them. So here's the first mindset test for you. I'm testing whether you have a rich mindset or a poor mindset. Okay. So if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, come on over to the webinar. If you're here on the webinar, answer this question. Think about it. What would you do if we gave you $1 million? So tomorrow you get up, you go to the mailbox, there's $1 million check sitting there from me, Brad. Since Adrian's not here tonight, I take all the credit. I'm giving you $1 million. What are you going to do with it? Think about it. You can write it in the chat. You can write it in the comments, or you can just think about it for yourself. You get $1 million. What are you going to do with it? Now, fair warning. I'm going to be telling you what poor people would do with it, and then I'm going to be telling you what rich people would do with it. What would a poor mindset, what would a rich mindset do with that $1 million? So here is the harsh truth. And I'm going to tell you what they would do, but here's the harsh truth. You don't want to be a millionaire. You just want to spend $1 million. Ouch. Boom. Did I just insult you? Did you feel the weight of that? All right. Well, I'm going to explain to you how rich people think and how poor people think, okay? So what would you do if you won $1 million? People do this in the lottery. They do it with inheritances. They do it with sports contracts. People who have nothing and all of a sudden they have a bunch. Entertainers, this happens to a lot too. They all of a sudden come into money. And do you know what they do with it? They think about, I'm going to buy the Lamborghini. I'm going to go on a shopping spree. I'm going to buy that mansion. Or I'm going to take some of that $1 million, maybe all that $1 million, and I'm going to invest it in my business. Now, this is what I'm going to suggest to you. That is a poor mindset. But wait, Dr. Brad, what are you kidding me? What is this rich mindset of thus thee speak? Well, I'm going to tell you what rich people would do with it. And again, this is a rich mindset. Now, most people would do what you see on this slide. Most people would take that money, and it's almost like you could take out a calculator on your phone and you're like, okay, so I'm going to buy a house. So minus whatever. I don't know, $1 million. How much do houses cost nowadays? Most of it's gone. I'm going to buy a nice car. Minus 30,000, 40. I don't know. Are you going to get a fancy car? $90,000? 10% of your money all gone? You're going to start a business. Well, guess what, guys? Take it from a serial entrepreneur. Most businesses fail, especially if it's your first business. So what are the odds that you're going to hold on to that money? Pretty slim. if you have a spending mindset. So a poor mindset, if you gave them $1 million, they would spend it all. That's just what we do when we have a poor mindset. Now let's think about what a rich mindset would do instead. Do you have any idea what somebody with a rich mindset would do? And before I tell you what they would do, it is so important that you adopt this mindset. Now, I know that you're thinking, well, what does it matter? Dr. Brad didn't mail me $1 million check. Sadly, I didn't. I wish I could. But no, I didn't do it for you. So why does it matter? Well, it matters because if you don't have the rich mindset, you will never become rich. Because the poor mindset thinks about, oh, I got $100,000 salary. By the way, congratulations. So what a poor mindset does is I'm going to buy the most expensive rent place I can get. I'm going to get new furniture. I'm going to get a new wardrobe. I'm going to go get a car. Oh, it costs a lot. I'm going to lease a car. This is the poor mindset. And by the way, I've done a bunch of research on this. So I'm not just making this up. This is what a rich person would do. And this is the mindset I want you to have. A rich person would invest 100% of it. And then they would live off the income it produces using what we call the 4% rule. What is the 4% rule? The 4% rule is what financial planners use with their rich clients. And essentially it means this. If you had $1 million, you could take out $40,000 a year for the rest of your life. And your money would continue to grow or at least keep pace with inflation. And by the way, this has been studied statistically many times, putting in a bunch of different variables, like the market does this, inflation does that, yada, yada. This is what rich people do. Rich people look at a nest egg like that, like $1 million or whatever it is, as a money cranking machine for them. Now, if you go into that machine and you take out some of the parts, it's going to crank out less money for you. And that's the poor mindset. So now you spend it, now it's only cranking out a little bit. So a rich mindset would take out at the max $40,000 a year. Now they might keep their job though and reinvest that money so that that 1 million becomes 5 million, becomes 10 million over the course of 10 or 15 or 20 years. So that 4% rule, think about what that does. So we're talking $40,000 now, $400,000 if you let that $1 million ride for you. You need to have this mindset. I know I'm talking big numbers, but if you don't have this mindset that I am going to save and invest as much as possible, then you have a poor mindset. And it's tough. It's tough to have a poor mindset. Do you know that year when Adrian lived in a van and he made $1.7 million, he invested 95% of it? What a windfall for him. He's like, this is the most money he's ever made in his life. He has a rich mindset. He invested 95% of that. And because he did that, and because he had that mindset, Adrian's entire life right now can be funded by his investments. He wrote this book for fun. He wrote this book out of passion. He wrote this book because he wants to help teach as many people as possible this rich mindset. I know Adrian, he doesn't need the money. I didn't write this book for the money. There's no money in books. Google it. It is because of passion, because we own much more of our time than we would otherwise. Now, we'll probably never stop working because we love it. We love to work. We have actually, one of the chapters I'm not talking about tonight is retirement is for dead people. We talk about how terrible it is for you to sit around and do nothing. So my plan is to never retire. But I'll tell you right now, I could right now sell my businesses and never have to work another day in my life. And I got to tell you, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. And the only reason I got there is because I've been saving and investing as much as I possibly can. All right, so give me a yes. You can say it in the comments if you want. Just think it in your head. Are you starting to feel the shift? Are you starting to feel the shift? Are you starting to think rich? What I'm trying to do is instill in you the mindset of the wealthy. And this is a mindset that I've learned over time and grew up wealthy. But for me, it was almost like another culture, right? And so as a scientist, as a psychologist, I've done studies on rich people because I was curious. I didn't grow up like that. And not just one rich person, thousands of rich people. And what I was doing was looking for patterns. What sort of patterns can we identify in these 1,000 ultra-rich people? Patterns of thinking, patterns of behavior, so that I can learn them myself, frankly, teach my kids, and then teach you. That's what I'm here to do. I'm super passionate about it. Okay, so let's get on, I believe, to the second harsh truth. All right, here we go. You have to get rid of your poor friends if you want to get rich. Oh. Oh, I like to blame all these harsh titles on Adrian when we're doing media interviews. But the bottom line is this is something I've observed over time, and I've got many, many examples of this. But I want to remind you, first and foremost, what I'm talking about. There's a big difference between being poor and being broke, okay? Being poor is a mindset. Being rich is a mindset. And then broke means you just have no money. So these are two very different things. So when I say you got to get rid of your poor friends, I'm saying something very specific here. Your poor mindset friends. And when I say get rid of them, the first thing you want to do, since you love them, is you want to have a sit down with them and tell them that you are on this road to financial freedom. You've had this epiphany. This is what you want. And you're going to radically change your relationship with money. And it might have an impact on your relationship. Maybe you're not going to go to Vegas as much. I don't know. Maybe you're not going to be, pimping out your truck, whatever it is. Your friends have a profound impact on you, your attitudes, and your behaviors. If all my friends I'm hanging around are always going out every night, and drinking and getting appetizers and eating, really expensive steaks, and their wardrobes are new and they're driving nice cars, what am I going to do? It's really tough to swim against the stream because we're social animals. We're wired to want to stay with our tribe. So be careful about who you're hanging around with. What is their mindset? It's okay to hang around broke people. I was broke. I don't know. Are you broke? I know a lot of broke people. But if you have a rich mindset, whoo-hoo, you are going to be lifting me up. I'm going to be lifting you up. When I have a success, you're going to be, yes. When I have a failure, you're going to feel bad for me, right? Of course, you're going to try to support me. You're not going to try to feel really good when I have a failure because you're worried that I'm going to leave you and be more successful. You're not going to try to cut me down when I have a success. That's a poor mindset. Okay, so let's look at this example here. I'm going to ask you right now, and tell me in the comments, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching in the webinar here, I can see your comments. So who do you think is the rich one here? Do you know? Who's the rich one? Is it the guy with his hands in his pockets showing that he apparently has no cash? Or is it this woman coming out of this private jet? I don't know. Are those pretty expensive jeans? Probably. I don't know. Fancy jacket. What's that thing cost? Those shoes have to be hundreds of dollars. I don't know what it costs. I'm not a fashion guy. But what do you think? Who's the rich person here? How do you know? Well, what I'm going to suggest to you is that you don't know, and there's no way you can know. Did you know that in LA, you can actually rent out a set that is a private plane? Did you know that? And influencers are in there taking pictures all the time. Like this thing right here, this phone is like one of the worst things ever. Because on Instagram, on TikTok, on all social media, you're going to see all these examples of rich people. Just go to Instagram and type in the word search term rich. What do you see? Whew, all these images are going to pop up for you. Now, would it surprise you to know that this gentleman is the multimillionaire in our example? And this woman coming out of the plane is broke. She has no money. She has no net worth. This guy over here, he may look poor, but he's got a rich mindset. And here's what studies have found. Are you ready for the data? First of all, most millionaires in the US are self-made. Kind of worried I have a slide on this one that I forgot about. Most millionaires are self-made in the US, and they describe themselves as frugal. What? That's not what you see on social media. On social media, you see the big flex. You see the designer labels, right? You see the luxury cars, the expensive watches. You see all this stuff. You see the golden goblets, the chains. I happen to have this on my desk. The chains, I use this as an example of outward displays of wealth. You see people with all this cash, it's like, hey, buy my get rich quick course. What do you think? Want to become a day trader and make a bunch of money? No. Guy, that is not how you do it. Sharon, do I know you? Oh, Phoenix. It is the guy, Sharon. He has a rich mindset. Most self-made millionaires, you know how they describe themselves? Frugal. They're not big spenders. The big spenders, and by the way, I've done research on this, they tend to come from lower socioeconomic families like me, And they think that outward displays of wealth are going to get them status and attention. Okay. Some of the richest people I know, you would never be able to tell. They drive broken down pickup trucks. They own their entire life and their time. They can do whatever they want. They can go anywhere they want, but they don't blow their money on a bunch of crap to try to impress you. They have no need to impress you. So the next time on social media, you see people flexing a bunch of luxury, this or that or the other, the first thing I want you to pop into your head is that, oh my gosh, Dr. Brad told me about these people. These people have less income. They have less net worth. We have a chapter in our book. Only broke and insecure people flex luxury brands. Now that can hurt, but it's actually true. Okay. They're insecure. Of course they're insecure. They want you to see how important they are. Here's my label. All right. So I grew up in a lower socioeconomic town, and there was a lot of people wearing gold chains. You know, that was kind of the thing, a gold chain. Labels. You could see the initials on their bags, on their shirts, a Gucci belt, whatever. I now live in a very, very wealthy area. I live in Boulder, Colorado. Check me out if you're around. And people don't dress like that. They're very subtle. They're subdued. They have no reason to flex these luxury brands. So the next time you see it on social media, I want an alarm to go off in your head and be like, bang, 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 bang. You're going to start feeling deprived. No. That's not what's happening here. I want you to feel superior to those people. How's that? How's that for a shift? I'm proud of you that you're not wasting your money on that bull crap. All right. So if you want to get rich, you got to get rid of your poor friends. So how do you know who the poor friends are? Okay. Here's the poor friend mindset. All right. They complain a lot. They make excuses. They blame other people. Now, this trifecta, complain, excuses, blame, this is an indication of an external locus of control. I'm getting nerdy here, but I want to show you that this really does tie to research. Locus of control is the location, locus, that means location in Latin or Pig Latin or something like that. I went to public school, people. Locus means location and control of the outcomes in your life. Poor mindset, everything I'm getting in my life, my salary, my stress, my unhappy relationship are because of my boss, the government, my wife. You know, I'm being victimized by everyone in my life. I lost my money investing, quote, investing because crooked stock market, greedy bankers, blah, 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 blah. Now, the problem with that, you will certainly find examples of people who are nasty human beings out there. Of course you will, of course. But isn't it kind of just a little bit your fault if you are in your 10th relationship and you're unhappy? Like, I would just suggest to you that maybe it might be you, okay? So that's actually a rich mindset, is like, things aren't going well in my life. Where did I go wrong? What can I learn? You know, when I do couples therapy with people, I'm always like, hey, man, hey, it's usually, you know, hey, man, hey, woman, hey, whoever. Half of this relationship is your fault. Ooh, what? People are convinced it's 100% the other person's fault. And then these poor friends too, they also spend over their means. You know, they're living above their means. Now, if you notice here, I didn't say anything about their net worth. I didn't say that at all. They could be making lots of money, but they're spending it all. But they complain, they make excuses, they gossip. Those are the poor friends. You might want to distance yourself from these people because they're going to bring you down. Now, instead, what you want to do is look for your rich friends, your rich mindset friends. Now, these are people who love learning. Oh, they read books. Did you know that most people don't read books? Just about every successful person I've ever met reads a bunch of books. I read a bunch of books. Adrian reads a bunch of books. They love learning. And by the way, there's some humility there too. It's like, I don't know everything. Maybe there's stuff I don't know. They inspire you. I get inspired by my rich-minded friends. You know why? They're always into something. You know, they're always doing something interesting. And they tell me about it. And I'm like, tell me about that. I use the example of Adrian making money and teaching courses on how to make money online and doing the Amazon influencer thing. I've shared that with a bunch of my friends who are now making money. He shared it with me. I'm making money. I shared it with my son. My son made $4 or $5 grand last month. My 11-year-old did, doing Amazon review videos. It's one of the side hustles we talk about in Start Thinking Rich. They inspire you. They lift you up. When you talk about success, they're like, way to go. You've got this. And they live under their means. And so I'm just suggesting to you that if all you got in your life are people who complain, live above their means, blame the rest of the world for their problems, gossip about other people. By the way, I guarantee you they're talking shit about you behind your back. It's not good. It's not good. Now, unfortunately, some of these people are people you love, but you might not be able to share the details of your financial freedom journey with them because they're going to start feeling anxious and they're going to start wanting to sabotage you. Not because they hate you, but because they love you and they don't want to lose you. Okay. So try to find some people that we would talk about and think about as having a rich mindset. And by the way, we have a whole community going that I'll talk about that you can get access to. And by the way, I'll cut to the chase. Anything I'm going to talk about here, you can get for $1 at the end of this. Okay. The book, we don't sell the book, so you got to get that somewhere else. But we have a community, got a masterclass. All this is coming in a bit. It only costs $1. But if you stick around to the end, like I said, you're also going to get a free video that Adrian put together on rich versus poor, or rich versus wealth skill sets. All right, so give me a yes. Are you feeling the mindset shift? Whoo! So now you know what rich people would do with $1 million. You got to have that mindset. And by the way, I own an asset management company. I'm one of the managing principals. We manage at this point close to $800 million for super wealthy people. And this is how they spend their money. This is how I know how they invest. I also know how they spend. Okay. And they use that 4% rule, man. You know, they're not looking at 3 million in their account and going, ooh, what am I buying now? They're like, okay, Dr. Brad, get me on that 4% drip. And some of them are even like, make it 3%. And think about that. So they got 3 million and they're living on 120,000 a year. You know, that's how they spend. And it's so hard for you to understand this if you grew up poor. It feels like it's the opposite of the truth, but I'm telling you the truth. Okay? So we're getting real here. And I'm getting real because I love you. The harsh truths in this book are harsh, and they're because I love you. And it's sort of like what I would tell you if we were alone. And by the way, I would if we were like doing coaching or whatever. I used to work in high schools with kids, and I'd shut the door and I'd just give it to them straight, you know, not worried about getting canceled. That's what we did with this book. I just decided to, like, you know, I'm a respected professor, by the way, so I teach in the university, and I this book is like if we were, you know, hanging out in my garage, drinking a beer, and you're like, hey, Dr. Brad, like, give it to me straight. Like, how do I get rich? This is what I would tell you. And this is what I would tell you now, what I'm telling you. We're going over 3 of these things. All right, so here we go. Good, Michael. Glad to see you here. T's here. Kyla's here. All right, so now we're getting on to harsh truth number 3. And this one is a bitter pill to swallow, okay? Only poor people think the system is rigged? Dr. Brad, how can you say this? It's utterly unfair. Of course it's unfair, guys. It is. I'm not here to say things are fair. Things are terribly unfair. And by the way, I think that we should do everything in our power to make things more fair. There's lots of things that are unfair. Lots of people have it way worse than me, and maybe even way worse than you. I don't know your situation. I already said that I grew up lower income. I grew up in a broken family. There was trauma. There was drama, all this kind of thing. You know, I'm sure I had it better than a lot of people. Women have it harder, statistically speaking, in the United States. People of color, if you've been traumatized, if you're not able-bodied, if you have mental health issues. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff, okay? But this mindset that there's all these people up there, you know, creating this thing to try to keep you down. It's okay to have glimmers of that thought, but you can't stop there, okay? It's a poor mindset to say, the system's rigged and there's nothing I can do about it. And there's nothing I can do about it. Now, by the way, you will be sold this concept by just about everybody who wants to make money off of you. Every political cycle, that's what it's all about. Both parties are like, you know, the world sucks, the country sucks, and I'm your savior. The other party is going to take you down. Vote for me. Vote for me. This happens everywhere, by the way. Local elections, state elections. This is what they do. That's how they get votes. People peddle helplessness and hopelessness. Okay? You'll hear that there's no way you can get ahead. Adrian put that slide together. I haven't read all those articles. But the bottom line is that we're inundated with information about how the system's unfair. And I think it is unfair. But did you know that 80% of millionaires, now, by the way, It's 80 in some studies. It's almost 90 in other studies. 80 to 90% of millionaires in the United States are self-made. And by the way, they come in all forms, in all demographics. And so if you can't relate to me, because yeah, sure, I was born, to a poor family, I had divorced parents, I had this and that and the other, but I'm Caucasian, I'm a male, I'm heterosexual. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you might say, yeah, I get it, Dr. Brad, but you had this advantage I did not have. And I respect that. Everyone's journey is different, and some people definitely have it worse. But what I want you to do, and also if you don't resonate with Adrian, Mexican, son of Mexican immigrants, had nothing, came from nothing. Maybe you can connect with his story a little bit better. If you can't connect with those stories, if you're a woman, for example, find a woman who's made it. If you're a person of color from a certain neighborhood, find somebody who's exactly where you're from, who's made it. This is the shift that I want you to have. This is the mindset shift. If they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. So he's saying privilege. Yes, there's tons of unearned privilege out there. For example, I'm able-bodied, so I don't need to think about whether there's a ramp at my dentist's office, whether there's parking that gives me enough room to get my wheelchair out of the van, and I don't have to think about any of that. That's unearned privilege, guys. Privilege exists. The world's not fair. Find somebody that you can connect with so that this light can go off. Boom, boom, boom. If they can do it, I can do it. Find someone in your community. Find someone you connect with. That's the mindset I want you to have. And then you can study how they did it. I'm giving you examples across the board around the psychology of wealth that goes across many of those demographics. But find someone who can inspire you, because all I need for you is for the light to go bing. If they can do it, I can do it. That's what you need to have, okay? And so that's what this stat did for me. So both sides of my family, both my grandparents in trailer parks. I mean, I did not grow up with any money. I actually thought, not only did I think the system was rigged, because you can make a lot of arguments about how poor people have it way worse. Unsafe neighborhoods, not as good schools. You just don't have access to resources. None of that is fair. You were born into that. I was born into that. Maybe you were born into way worse, a stack of those things. And I love you. I love you. Those are real and those are tough. Find somebody who's able to overcome those, because that's the shift I want you to have. When I saw that 80 to 90% of millionaires were self-made, boom, it changed my entire life, because I thought you had to be born rich. I thought it takes money to make money. I thought the only way you're going to get rich is if you went to a private school. That's how I thought it was a closed club. There's no way to get in. And why did I think that? Well, because my family's been poor for generations. I thought we lived in a caste system. I was like, this is unfair. And here's the problem. It was so disempowering for me. It was so disempowering, because I thought, well, why bother trying? And that's the problem with this mindset. So is the system rigged? I don't think it's a good way to look at it. I think it's a better way to look at it. And here's the mindset shift, okay? Money is a game. This is the shift I want you to make. Money is a game. The poor mindset, the system's rigged and there's nothing I can do about it. Here's the rich mindset. The system is unfair. I have perhaps been unjustly, kept down. Other people have privileges I don't have, and they didn't deserve it. They're born with it. But money's a game. Money's a game. Okay. It's such an empowering mindset. Oh my gosh, it changes everything. So here is Adrian Brambilla, my co-author. He's busy tonight, working on marketing our book. He's a good marketer guy. He is really, really good at pickleball. Now, don't tell him I said that, because I like pickleball too, but he turned me onto it about 1.5 years ago. He's like almost a pro. He's been a pro. Anyway, so pickleball. There's a paddle. There's a wiffle ball. He's wearing those cute little shorts. There's a net. Pickleball has a set of rules, okay? A set of norms, a set of skills that soccer doesn't have, that football doesn't have. So imagine this. You're all trained up. on how to play pickleball, or like me, you're all trained up on how to survive in a working class, a low income area. Well, what do you do there? Well, go to high school. I mean, you should probably finish, but that's kind of boring. Get a job, become a hard worker, become a mechanic. A lot of it was manual labor. That's what you do. Actually, the people I know who made the most money when I was growing up were in construction. It's like, oh, that's how you make money, right? There's a mindset. There's a whole set of rules. You don't go over there. You don't go over there. That's a dangerous spot. You stay here. All these sorts of things. You eat in certain restaurants. You have certain habits, traditions, whatever. Now, if you then all of a sudden go from that to a rich person's neighborhood, now I'm not sure if you ever had this experience, but I remember the first time I went to a restaurant where they had more than one fork on the table. And I was sitting there and I'm like, I almost had a panic attack. I'm looking around and I'm like, damn, dude, I'm looking around. Do all these people know what to do with all this silverware? Like, why do I have 3 forks? And one's kind of funny looking. Why are there 3 spoons and 2 knives and all these dishes? What am I supposed to do? All of a sudden, I was in a totally different game. Well, I went to a different culture. So the bottom line is, if you know how to play pickleball and then you go try to take your paddle onto the soccer field, you're going to get wiped out. And the refs are going to be blowing whistles. You're going to be in the penalty box. Coach is going to be yelling at you. The other players are going to be sneering at you. And you're going to be saying, man, this game is rigged. Not only that, it's rigged against me. Of course, you're going to have that feeling. Is it really rigged or is it a game? I just think it's a good idea for you to think about it as a game. Okay, this is the mindset I want you to get. It's a game. So what does that mean? Well, if you learn the rules of the game, maybe you can play it. Maybe you can win it. And I have so many examples of this, by the way. So Adrian there with the pickleball thing. I had to throw this slide in because I won a pickleball tournament. I'm like, Adrian, you're not the only one, baby. I snuck this one in here. Hopefully you'll see it. He put the slide deck together to begin with. So here's my question to you. What game are you playing? What game are you playing right now? Think about it for a second. Are you playing the corporate game? That's okay. If you want to rise through a corporation, isn't there a particular set of rules involved, right? Are you playing the military game? You want to become a general someday. Well, you better play it right. You better sit back and learn. How do I go from captain to major? How do I make these moves? It's a game, people. And if you don't play the game right, you're gonna lose the game. Maybe you're playing the entrepreneur game, which is fine. I think it's really important that you know the stats that most businesses fail. I read that and I'm like, well, I'm not going to play the game where I borrow a bunch of money, my business fails, and then I'm stuck with the bill for 10 years. So I was very careful about the entrepreneur game. There's a professor game. How do you become a professor? How do you become chair of the department? Whatever it is. What game are you playing? Is that the game you want to play? If it is the game you want to play, do you know the rules? If you're playing the investing game, do you know how rich people invest? If you don't, I suggest you learn. By the way, we talk about that in Start Thinking Rich. We just break it all down for you, giving away all the secrets. So the question here is, now that you are aware that you're playing the game, do you want to keep playing the game? By the way, we're not even judging. So in our book, we talk about capitalism. We don't say it's good. We don't say it's bad. We take no position on it, actually. And there's arguments in every different direction. I don't even care. I'm not a sociologist. I'm not a politician. But the bottom line is this. If all of a sudden we were in the socialist game or the communist game, I would be writing a book on how to be successful in that game if I couldn't get out of it, right? If I couldn't get out of whatever country I'm in. So now that you know that you're playing a game, do you know the rules? So do you need to learn the rules? If you're playing the investing game and you keep losing money, well, maybe you got poor mindset when it comes to investing. Maybe you're investing like poor people invest, which is how I started to invest, and I've lost a bunch of money. That's not how rich people invest, people. That's how poor people invest. And that's how these individuals just fleece poor people because they don't know the game. So it's not that the system is rigged against you. It's just you don't know the game. You don't know the game. So try to learn the game. I think that's the best mindset. You can probably convince me that things have been really, really bad for you. I'm a psychologist, people. Like, I get it. I know about trauma. I know about that. I know about everything being unfair. Of course it's unfair. Of course it is. And what can you do about it? What are you willing to do about it? Where can you find inspiration? Where can you find encouragement? Where can you find people to lift you up? And I'm just going to suggest to you that you can and that you deserve it. So don't stop with me. Don't stop with Adrian. If you don't connect with us, find somebody to inspire you, to have that light bulb pop off in your head. Is the system unfair? Yes. Has it been unfair towards me? Yes. Maybe even dramatically. And if they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. I never felt like I was better than anyone else. I don't feel like I'm better than anyone else. I feel very blessed to have learned some of the stuff I learned when I was in my 20s, late 20s. I didn't know it before that, but I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they can do it, you can do it. So if you want to know the full harsh truths, pick up a copy of this book here. It's for sale. And it's actually part of the next thing I want to talk about. By the way, you can buy it anywhere. So I got a bunch of stuff for you. And just give me a minute to talk about it, because all this will cost you only $1, I swear. Okay, so we are giving away a bunch of stuff because we want this book everywhere. And if you look on social media right now, it is everywhere. It's like #1 new release in finance. This thing's going to blow up. Comes out tomorrow. Already been thousands of books sold. And we just want it in the hands of everybody, frankly. So here is how we're going to motivate you to get the book and reward you. So we have a community. And by the way, I think it's over, it's over 1,000. I haven't checked today. Maybe 1,100 people are in this online community. You can have access to that, again, for $1. I don't know why I'm cutting to the chase here. We got a paid newsletter we're going to start putting out. The thing that I really want to talk about here, we have other resources, but is our masterclass. So we have a masterclass that we have put together. I'm actually going to Austin on Friday, and we're going to film the last part that I'm doing, which is how to money like the rich. And we're going to dive into the details of investing, like how do they actually invest, like what's happening. But we have a bunch of stuff in there. I do a deep dive into your psychology around money and looking at your early childhood. I mean, we go so deep in this masterclass. It's really, really good. And it's a combo of me and Adrian. So I'm the psychologist guy, the investing guy. He's the how to make more money guy and how to live a rich life guy. So it's a fabulous combination. I learned so much from him. So right after this book comes out, like the week after, we're charging for all this stuff. But you're here. By the way, you're not going to see this anywhere else except this webinar. So it's huge. It'll be a lot of value there. But for $1, that's all it costs you is $1. Can you guys see me here? I thought I had my camera on, but maybe I don't. So for $1. So now how do you get access to this? Just go to startthinkingrich.com/early. By the way, it's the only place you can get it. Startthinkingrich.com/early. For $1, you get all that stuff. And by the way, 100% satisfaction, 100%. If you don't like it, we will refund in full your $1. I promise you. And we'll be happy to do it because we want you to be happy. But essentially, you buy the book, you go to that /early, you're going to upload a proof of purchase, which is a screenshot. We don't care where you buy it. And then that's pretty much it. You pay $1 here and you get all this stuff. 100% satisfaction guarantee. There's some order bumps along the way. If you wanted to, you can see it here, $27 more. You can take my psychology tests that we've used in research with, I think, about 100,000 people now. One looks at your beliefs around money. One looks at your financial health. One looks at financial behavior patterns. So if you want to know what I use with clients, and it's a series of 3 tests, I'd say to take them all. Each one takes maybe about 10 minutes. You get an emailed report of your results. I'd love it if you did that order bump. You're going to get access to community anyway. Just tell me your scores. Tell me your what you found out in the community. And if you do join the community, tag me. Say, hey, Dr. Brad, I was just on your webinar. I want to welcome you there personally. But let me know, by the way, I'm talking. I see your comments. I see you. Bingo. This is such great advice. Thank you, T. I'm trying to bring it. I'm trying to bring the truth here. There's someone in all of our communities that made it happen for themselves. Yes, there are. Find that person. I'm doing my best to be that inspiring person for you. But of course, we're not going to connect on every level. Of course, we're different in some ways. Just find somebody. T, I love your study on money scripts. I use it in my coaching. Oh, that's so cool. So have you taken the money script test? You can find it actually in other places, but I got it online here. If you haven't taken it, try to take it. Sharon, you're a CFP. Oh my gosh, you're a CFP. I love you. CFPs are awesome. I'm a CFP. Sharon, am I bringing the truth here though? As a CFP, Am I telling the truth here? I mean, we're not trying to sell get rich quick stuff. I use the word rich a lot. Rich, rich, rich. Poor, poor, poor. Because this is how people are getting ripped off every single day by those words. And so we're trying to claim it back, Sharon. We're taking it back. We're taking the word rich back by giving people honest information. Michael says, great fathering, supporting your son. Learn early. Did you research, look at any differences between males and females and their mindsets? Okay, I'm going to answer this. Male provider role, motivations, differences, complaints about unfairness, SES. Any differential advice to men or women in psychology of money? Took your Scripps test and read the report. That's so cool. Oh, you're a psychologist in Australia. I love it, Michael. All right, so Michael, you just laid down a lot there. So yes, there are differences between men and women. Well, how about this? Let me just tell you what the differences were that we found in Money Scripts. So your beliefs around money, which are Money Scripts, that's what these tests look at. Your socioeconomic status in childhood, that is one variable that does directly relate to Money Scripts. And as I mentioned previously, if you grew up in a poor environment, you're more at risk for outward displays of wealth. And by the way, this totally happened to me. I got out of grad school, owed $100,000 of student loan debt. What's the first thing I did? I went and bought a like $2,000 watch. I bought a thick gold Hawaiian heirloom bracelet for my mom, had it engraved with her name in Hawaiian and all that. I was in Hawaii. That's what I thought rich people did. That's not what they do, people. That's what poor people do. I just had this poor mindset, and I was like, I wanted to show the world I made it. Well, first, actually, I wanted to show my mom I made it because she sacrificed so much for me, and I loved her so much. I still do. She's still alive. Thank God. But I wanted her to be able to show her friends, oh, look what my Bradley did. You know, my Bradley's a doctor, you know. He's a doctor. She had so much pride in that, and she sacrificed so much. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. But let me just be clear. I love my mom. I wanted to show her so she could show her friends. That's a poor mindset. That's not what rich people do. And as an example, okay, so Michael, anyone else can do this too, but I'll say this to you directly. bradclontz.com/research. I've got most of my studies right there, and you can download them. So that's for your nerds out there, like psychologists, if you want to read any of that research. But I'll say this too. Recent research has shown that we socialize women differently. We socialize little girls to be more financially dependent. We socialize them to, depend on other people and not expose them to business as early. And there's cultural differences. So Latinos tend to raise their male and female children similarly around money. So it's like, hey, you're gonna have to take care of yourself. But Caucasians, and especially higher net worth Caucasians, are more likely to disempower their daughters and say, some guy's going to take care of you. It's okay to be dependent. They expose them to money less often and business less often. And there's less of a message you're on your own, which sets them up for massive problems. The biggest group of people who are really, really poor in older age are women. So yes, we have a big problem as a culture where we're not doing that. Sharon, I love your Money Scripts. Used Money Scripts since you found it. Oh, that's so awesome. Since 2018. Sharon, that's awesome. Thanks for being here. I'm dying to know what you think about Start Thinking Rich. Maybe you've already got my other book, Psychology of Financial Planning. But by the way, Sharon, too, like financial planners now are being trained in psychology of financial planning. It's like 9% of the CFP exam. I'm not sure if you knew that. You're retired? Awesome, Sharon. That's so great. I'm into financial literacy too. I want to help as many people as possible. That's why we're giving all this stuff away. Adrian's the online marketer guy. So I love his ideas here on how to incentivize people. You're going to take this action. You're going to buy like a $28 book on Amazon. Hey, for $1, we'll give you all this other stuff. It's actually a great way to incentivize people and reward people and support people along this journey. And that's really what we're trying to do here. So everybody, thank you for being here. If you have any questions, reach out. Otherwise, pay $1, get in the group. There's a bunch of us in there now. We're talking about a lot of this stuff. And again, okay, what is this? The video is covering, oh, sorry. It's startthinkingrich.com/early. Thank you for saying that. I can't really see that on my end. I'm gonna try to put it in here. Startthinkingrich.com/early. Hey, Sharon, probably the best way for you, you on LinkedIn, maybe just DM me there if you want to ask anything about CFP related stuff. That seems to be where the CFPs hang out. So LinkedIn, I'm on there. Just send me a DM. That's probably the easiest way. We can connect there. Or in the group too. But the group, there's probably more people in there. But I will see you if you tag me. But I appreciate you being here. Guys, CFPs are great. So if you have money that you're worried about, which you should be in terms of investing, look for a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. They're the ones I think that are the best trained to help you with some of that more complicated stuff. Michael, plans for audiobook. Yes, Michael. The audiobook comes out tomorrow. As the same thing with the Kindle and the hardcover. It's all coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's such a huge day. So this book has been 2 years in the making. So I'm super pumped about it coming out tomorrow. And I'm rushing to Barnes & Noble in Boulder here to see if it's there so I can take a selfie next to it, on the bookshelf. So yeah, tomorrow's the big day. It's coming out on Audible. It's coming out on everything else. And again, if you pre-order, if you're going to buy the book, just pay $1, get all this other stuff. StartThinkingRich.com/early. And I promise you the masterclass is just so good. I think my stuff is good. I'm a little biased. I teach it in university and I really tried to make it engaging. We had a great setup. And then I'm also really excited to see Adrian's stuff. I learned so much from the guy. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars following Adrian's advice on side hustles. So tested and true. And there's a lot of people out there you can't trust, but he's a good friend of mine. And so I fully trust him. And I think you can too, with his advice on how to make more money online. And by the way, it's in the book. We try to give as much detail in there as possible. So we're not trying to hold anything back. So thank you for being here. I love you all. I'm super excited. This was a smaller group too. It's more fun that way. There's people watching live streaming too, but it's really in the in this here that we get to hang out.